to listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 270 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. NASCAR is back. Daytona is in the books. And wow, what a weekend. What a kickoff to the season. The weather was great. All good things. And I can't wait to dive into that tonight. I'm looking very forward to it. Couple things here. Well, we finally have a baby. Yes, Alden Lee was born Wednesday, February 16th, 3:36 a.m., 7 pounds, 5 ounces, 20 and a half inches long. He is doing fantastic. Mama is doing good too. And hey, believe it or not, we're actually getting a little sleep. He likes to sleep, and we are A-okay with that. So what a crazy time last week. It was a journey throughout the delivery process. We were scheduled for an induction on Monday. We went in Monday night when we were told to. They sent us home at midnight because they were so busy. We went back Tuesday afternoon. We went back in Tuesday afternoon around 1 o'clock and started the induction process. And it was 3:30 in the morning when we had to go the route of a C-section, and lo and behold, I got a son, and I can't believe it. 6 days of fatherhood. It's absolutely crazy. Just to smell his little head when he's laying on my chest, it is absolutely incredible, and cannot wait for what the future brings with this little guy. So excited. Thank you for all of the kind words on Twitter when I posted the announcement. Really appreciate it. It was so nice to see, and I just love it. And can't wait to share stories about him with you guys now. I can't wait to get him in a go-kart and see what he can do. And Brad Yunker is ready for that. So we'll see what happens. So we got a baby. So that's why no show last week, and hope you guys enjoyed the show 2 weeks ago with Kaz Grala and Sam Pele. That was a lot of fun, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. I've got our ARCA winner from Daytona, Corey Heim, is going to be on the show later tonight, as well as Brian Haaland from Joe Gibbs Racing. He is he's the head coach over at Joe Gibbs, and he is going to talk about NextGen pit stops and how crazy and what a shakeup the NextGen car has created for pit stops, and looking forward to talking with him. Got some Daytona recaps, obviously, social media shout outs. Neudorff is going to have the weather, and we're going to talk a little college basketball, especially with what happened with Juwan Howard on Sunday before the 500 during the Michigan Wisconsin game there. Lucky Dog, lap down picks, and of course fantasy. So big show, ready to go. Let's get things going. Let's get Brian on the line and talk some pit stops. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his first appearance on the show. He is the head coach of the Joe Gibbs Racing pit crew teams. Welcome to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Brian Haaland. Brian, what's going on, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on today. Just kind of post Daytona 500, trying to figure everything out.
Man, I'm telling you. So week one, Daytona's in the books. Is there a sigh of relief? Is there anxiety? Where are we at, like 24 hours post Daytona?
I think there's a little bit of both. You know, we spent a year in development for this single lug pit stop with all of our different athletes at Joe Gibbs Racing. So, you know, I was eager to get the season started to just kind of see where we stack up with, the competition. But, you know, we encountered some issues along the way, just throughout the Daytona 500. Some of the cars were difficult to pit, not set up quite like our pit practice car. So that was a challenge. And then just some different things that I think we're going to learn throughout these events and stop by stop, just as we see the differences between the racetrack and here at the shop.
That's great, man. Well, listen, we've got a lot to talk about with the changes to the car, how that will impact the crews. But before we get to that, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how a D1 goalie finds himself as a pit crew coach in NASCAR.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that seems like a while ago. But yeah, I was a former college hockey player, played Division I college hockey at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. So back then it was the CCHA, so played like Michigan, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Ohio State.
Go Blue.
Big schools like that. Yeah, we took our fair share of butt whoopings up there in Yost Arena. So, but yeah, we had a team psychologist in college, and his name is Jack Stark. And he was working at the time with Hendrick Motorsports, and he knew that I kind of liked racing, and he goes, "Hey, have you ever thought about being on a NASCAR pit crew?" And I'm like, "Are you serious with that question?" So that's honestly, that's kind of how it started. He's like, no, like I'm for real here. Do you want to go down and do a tryout? And so, timing worked out where I got the opportunity to go over to Hendrick and, really tried out to be on a pit crew as an athlete, and was able to earn a spot there. Worked there for 4 or 5 years, and I ended up changing tires for, I think, 8 or 10 years, and then got into, the coaching side of it kind of right away, and really worked my way up. I worked at Team Penske for the better part of 10 years as an assistant coach. And then in 2019, got the opportunity to become the head coach at Joe Gibbs Racing, something that I've really worked my entire career to get to this point. Joe Gibbs Racing, they set the bar every year for performance on pit road. And I tried to get over here as a tire changer and wasn't good enough. And then it's kind of rewarding to get that opportunity to come over here and be the head coach. Really just a dream come true to work for Coach Gibbs and Coy and the whole Gibbs family. It's just first class in everything that they do and the way that they treat their employees. And, there's nothing that I need that I don't have when it comes to the performance side of what we're doing.
That's great, man. So Lap Traffic Nation, when your driver's leading going into the pits and then someone from Joe Gibbs Racing comes out with the lead, that's Brian's fault. And we're going to get into talking more about that. So listen, did you grow up a NASCAR fan? Who was your driver? What was the, NASCAR fandom like beforehand?
So honestly, I knew nothing about NASCAR. My brother at the time was living out in California, and he started watching NASCAR, and I think it started with fantasy NASCAR, and he's like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I'm like, "No, Sunday's my only day off during the week. Like, we don't have hockey games that day. Like, I'm watching golf on Sunday." And he kept bugging me. He's like, "Turn on the race, like whatever." So then he talks me and 3 of our buddies into coming out and visit him for California to go to the race in Fontana. And so we did that whole experience, and I kind of watched the race. I'm like, "God, this is boring." And then the drivers came down pit road, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, look at those guys. That's amazing." And then it just kind of built from there. Then I started watching the sport, and it just got the opportunity by chance that Dr. Jack Stark was working at Hendrick. And, really when you're thinking about getting into NASCAR, I mean, it's really difficult, but if you know somebody that's involved, I mean, obviously that's how opportunities come about. Sure. In all facets of life. So what's your race week look like as far as at the shop? Are you at the track each weekend? Talk to us a little bit about that. Yeah, so really COVID forced everybody to kind of think outside of the box. So on race day, we've got a kind of think NFL war room type atmosphere. Sure. Where we have open communication to all the pit crew members, and then live video to where I'm basically sitting in an office watching everything they're doing and can give them instant feedback that way. We are going back. They opened up some roster limits, so I'll be traveling to, I think myself and our assistant coach are going to go to like 24 to 28 events this year. Okay. There's some races that, that are more important, obviously, from a pit stop standpoint, that we'll make sure that we're at those. But yeah, I'm excited to get back to the racetrack because, for the better part of 15 years, I was traveling both, really Xfinity and the Cup Series. So being at home, I know my wife and kids appreciate that. But no, I'm excited to get back to the racetrack.
Absolutely. All right, man. So let's talk next gen. Biggest swings to the cars in a long time, which has impacted, pit road in a great way. Talk about the transition a little bit in terms of, how you approached it as a coach in trying to get your teams prepared for this, and, walk us through going live this past weekend at Daytona.
Yeah, I mean, anytime there's a rule change, and especially one that's not crazy, but it is different as what this is, going from 5 lug nuts to 1, and the differences in the car. I mean, it's a real opportunity to gain a big advantage, right? And that was kind of our approach at Joe Gibbs Racing, was like, how can we take advantage of an entire year head start to get going? So, I mean, we, from the recruiting side, Chris Hall did a phenomenal job bringing in different athletes, and we've been training them. And not to say that all those guys are on our premier teams yet, but they're up and coming, and they're learning, and we've got a good head start on that. And some of them have graduated from the development program and are within our partnership with 2311, pitting those cars, and a few of them are on our house cars too. So, when you approach it, I still feel like the best pit stops are going to be done by the best athletes and the best trained guys, right? It's, you start with a really good athlete, and nobody grows up, playing pit crew on the playground, right? So it's something that
I feel like we
has to be taught. Well, maybe we should start that as a little side business, right?
We need to get like one of the, like you guys have on the pit stands, you've got that wheel that's just attached to, practice, get warmed up on. I feel like we need to work that into like a little Tykes toy for the elementary schools or something.
The elementary, you've got the playground over there, and then you've got a single lug gun and wheel that the kids can play with. Yeah, that actually is not a bad idea. But yeah, so with all that time, we looked at all the different ways to pit the car, right? And we came up with something that's radical, that NASCAR actually put a rule in place, because as crazy as this sounds, we developed a pit stop to where all 4 guys changing tires, so both tire changers approach the car from the front of the car. Which, anybody that watches NASCAR knows that the rear tire changer always chases the car down. What we're looking at trying to do is, like, how can we get this wheel gun on the lug nut, basically at a 0 second. And if you can figure that out, like, you've got a half a second lead on everybody, because the rear changer, that's how long it takes for him to come around the back of the car and then find the lug nut. So it kind of started with that idea, and then it developed into what we call the next gen pit stop. NASCAR is funny in the way that it's hard to keep secrets. And people kind of found out what we were doing. And I think some teams had some concerns because they didn't know the information, but they knew it was such a radical change that they were honestly probably a little intimidated by it. And they thought maybe they could bring their concerns to NASCAR. And they could create a rule, which they did. They said the rear changer must approach the vehicle from the rear of the car. Thankfully, we were able to talk with NASCAR and invite them over, and hats off to them for bringing everybody over here and really understanding why and what, and kind of embracing the change that we were trying to make with this next gen pit stop. I tell our staff all the time, like, this is an athletic event when you watch the guys all chasing each other around the front of the car and the way that they're getting to the right side of the car. And then the speed, like, we found some crazy speed. Now, albeit it's in practice, it's not been done at the racetrack yet, but I think there's potential to do a 4-tire pit stop in the 7-second range with this next gen pit stop that we've developed. And again, that's not able to go to the racetrack per NASCAR's rules until March 20th at Atlanta. And with the repave at Atlanta, I don't know that we'll do it there because it could be a lot of 2-tire stops, and that just changes a little bit of our approach. But yeah, you'll have to keep your eyes open for that because it's really exciting, something that our guys have worked extremely hard on. That's
revolutionary, and I'm really excited to see that. And all right, and I have this down the list here, but I'm going to bring it up now just because you brought up 2-tire stops, and me as a fan sitting there and seeing just this weekend how quickly these pit stops are getting done. I'm thinking to myself, are 2-tire stops a thing of the past because of just how quickly you can do a 4-tire stop? And if you do a 2-tire stop, could we maybe have a fuel issue because the teams are just so used to, hey, maybe we just need 1 can, for the last run, or there's a late caution, and, the timing over just how long we've had the 5-lug stop, I'm thinking to myself, a single lug, what if the driver goes to leave too soon out of instinct as soon as the jack drops, and all this kind of stuff that I'm just thinking in my head could be a problem on a 2-tire stop. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Typically when we did 2-tire stops, with the old generation car, it would line up pretty good. If you put right sides on it, you could pretty much get 1 can of fuel in there. Call it 5.5 seconds. You could dump, easily 10 gallons of fuel. Now on a right side stop, and you didn't see it at Daytona because everybody's still trying to figure out the setups of the car. And if you noticed from the race, there was a lot of teams struggling just to pull the wheel off. They were hitting the fender and there was some setup issues really across the board. But as teams get smarter and they figure out what you can do to help the car, essentially be more pittable for the pit crews. It's such a balance because you maybe take some speed out of the car to give your pit crew a little bit easier car to pit. So as teams find that balance, it's going to be interesting to watch because I think you're going to have some teams that go super aggressive on the pitability part of it, and then you're going to see them gain 10 spots when they come down pit road, and then teams are going to go, oh gosh, we can't make up that kind of speed on the racetrack. We need to follow suit and make these cars more pittable. But where I'm going with that is you should see some right side stops in the 3 flat range with this single lug. We're constantly pushing our guys out on the practice pad to, be dropping the right side at a 2.9, 2.95, something under 3 seconds, which is, it's crazy fast,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Then the problem becomes, well, how much fuel can you get in that amount of time?
Right,
so,
right.
In that case, I don't know. You might, because on a fuel only, most of the time it's like 2 or 3 seconds of fuel. So just call it, you're getting 5 or 6 gallons. But then again, there's errors that could be made, changing. It's just 1 lug nut, but you could go out there and the lug nut could come out of the socket and go zinging down pit road. And all of a sudden what you thought was going to be a 3-second pit stop could end up being 10 seconds.
Sure.
By the time you fix that. So honestly, the crew chiefs, our job as a staff is to prepare all our athletes to be ready for anything the crew chief decides to call. And honestly, that's why they drive the company vehicle, and that's why they make those decisions whether they want 2 or 4 tires.
Sure. We saw this weekend, and you mentioned it a little bit. Some of the teams had issues, whether it was with Joe Gibbs or other teams across the grid. Talk a little bit about a couple years ago, NASCAR switched the guns, right? And obviously now they've got a new one. Did you guys see any issues with that? We did see some issues with getting the tire on and off and with the gun. Does NASCAR need to make changes? Are there issues from that side of things, or is it, trial and error and it being, Daytona week 1?
Yeah, all the feedback I got from the guys is the equipment as far from the Paoli gun with the single lug, I mean, they have that figured out. I mean, I don't know that anybody produces anything better than that. So that's really their expertise is in that big gun, right? Now it's up for debate on our old gun that was used for 5-lug nut. We had a ton of gun failures with Paoli. They worked hard to try to make it right, but there were times where your race was affected by the equipment that they were providing, which was really frustrating. But
Sure.
Everything I've understood, and obviously we had to purchase a bunch of those guns for practice. They're really durable, and honestly, I've been extremely pleased with the performance that we have right now with their equipment.
Sure. Oh, that's great. Okay. So can you tell us, not from a dogging perspective or anything like that, or can you just break down for the listeners what happened this weekend with the Penske tire situation?
Yeah, it's been a hot topic for sure. I don't think what they were doing was necessarily to try to gain a competitive advantage, especially with some of the issues that we saw as a company yesterday. The tolerances are so tight from where the wheel slides up on the hub that if you get the slightest little nick in the aluminum wheel, like it makes it really difficult, almost impossible to even get the wheel seated. So I think we're learning also when the whole hub and the assembly gets a certain amount of heat in it, maybe there's expansion and you're putting a cold aluminum wheel on and that makes it nearly impossible. So I think what they were doing is they were just opening up those tolerances and, it'll be interesting to see what NASCAR's take is. I would expect to hear something Tuesday, Wednesday. Sure. But maybe it goes the other way and they say, you know what? Honestly, we probably should be doing this. So I wouldn't be surprised if they came down on them and said, no, you weren't supposed to mess with anything from a vendor, and they give them a crazy penalty. And I probably wouldn't be surprised if they said, well, actually, this is maybe what we should be doing, especially with the issues that some of the teams had yesterday.
Sure. Cool. All right, man. So I want to wrap with this, you mentioned the word athlete a lot, which I absolutely love. And, I know there's always the debate, are the drivers athletes, which they absolutely are. And I think sometimes the pit crew kind of, falls under the radar a little bit, just in terms of the athleticism that these guys have. This isn't the, 1970s pit crew cigarette hanging out in their mouth with, a t-shirt and jeans on. Like, these guys are out there to be a part of the team, to add to the capabilities of the driver and the team as a whole, and getting to victory lane. Talk a little bit about the types of athletes from the different, realms of sports that you guys have on the Joe Gibbs Racing teams, the importance of that, and, words of advice to anybody that, is a 13-year-old NASCAR fan that thinks it's pretty cool and wants to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they're professional athletes, and they come from. I always got to start with hockey. I finally got a hockey player in here, so they come from hockey, football, baseball, soccer. I mean, it is, again, it's something we use some recruiting help and we find athletes from all over, and then it takes a special person too, right? You've got to have some interest in being competitive. You got to have a lot of interest in being competitive, but you have to have some interest in NASCAR. But honestly, when we bring guys in to evaluate them, from a physical standpoint and athletic ability, like it's really neat to see what kind of people come in and see how they take to the sport and see their interest level. And it's not for everybody, right? But man, we've had some good success when we get guys in here and they see, the hardest part when an athlete is done with their career and their prospective sport is the ability to, hey, now I can't compete anymore. I got to go sit at a desk and work 8 hours a day or whatever. But, NASCAR brings that avenue to compete for another 10 plus years, right? I mean, you can do this well into your 30s. So say somebody's career's over after college and they're 24 years old and all of a sudden they have another career that, they can make a lot of money and be a part of a professional sport and train like a professional and fly on private jets like professionals do and have the best of everything, have coaching and medical staff and everything that goes along with it. I mean, it's such a neat avenue for athletes looking for the next thing.
We evolved the Little Tykes playground with that, and I think I mean obviously this is just kind of like fantasy talk here, but when you look at NASCAR and we try to compare it to the stick and ball sports, if you will, I really think it's the pit crew that has the most comparison. You've got recruiting. You've got minor leagues, right? In terms of whether they're coming up through Xfinity or, the coaching programs, the developmental programs. You see a lot of movement across teams with pit crews. You yourself, you're with Hendrick, Penske, now with Joe Gibbs Racing. Would it be cool if there was a pit crew draft based on team's performance and having the ability to get a first round pick, second round pick from a pit crew perspective?
That would be unbelievable. And I think to add something else to it would be if we could figure out how to trade guys.
Oh my God.
Would be absolutely amazing. Or again, it's really difficult, from a recruiting standpoint, trying to hire somebody from another company. Right. So contracts come and go and when their time is up, it's still difficult to hire somebody. So, maybe having something like a free agent signing period,
that would
right?
be cool.
To where they're open to sign with any team. I mean, I think we've got to evolve as this next gen car comes in and we have the opportunity to try new things. Like trades would be awesome.
I love it, man. I just got I do the fantasy NASCAR league with the Lab Traffic podcast. I do fantasy football, and it's like that kind of stuff gets me excited. And I'm like, man, that would just be so cool. And it just adds another level, I think, for your diehard fan, right? Like your casual fan that's just tuning in for the 500 or some of the crown jewels, isn't going to pay attention to that. But your diehards that are tuning in for, the truck races, that are tuning in for ARCA, that are listening to a NASCAR podcast. I mean, those are the people that I think would really get behind something like that. And it just adds a whole new element to the sport. And I think it would help get names out there. Like we don't know pit crew names. We don't know who's the tire changer, on a basis like we can spot a number and make that identification there. I think that would help elevate and get more recognition to the pit crews if there was something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned fantasy also. I mean, how cool it would be if you were able to do a fantasy draft and had to pick a picker, right? And you start to get to know, who the jackman is on the 18 car. And you're picking the front tire changer and somehow the data is collected and put out there that you score points in fantasy. Like, I mean, that's honestly, that's the next step because these athletes they're professional in everything they do. And, I think the recognition is coming, right? As you see these, I mean, it's amazing to see these guys at work when you really understand the details of it and just how fast they're able to do their jobs.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. Well, man, listen, I really appreciate the time. I would love to touch base with you, third of the way, halfway through the season and see how things have evolved with the new car and all of that and what changes you guys make in a short period of time and, see where we're at from the next gen and the evolution of pit stops with the new car, man.
Yeah, that would be great. Feel free to reach out any point. I'd love to give you an update for sure.
Appreciate it. Listen, where can everybody follow you and the team and all that on social media?
We're still working on that, but Twitter for me is at Coach Haaland. Haaland is spelled a little different, Haaland.
Awesome.
So.
Cool, man. Well, listen, Lap Traffic Nation, huge thanks to Brian with Joe Gibbs Racing, for calling in and breaking this down for us. Brian, it was great to talk with you. Best of luck the rest of the season, and look forward to catching up with you soon, man.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, man. We'll see you. Lab Traffic Nation, that was Brian. That was really cool. A unique approach, different topic for the show, which I think is a lot of fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed that because, like I said, that hopefully what Brian talked about gives you a fresh perspective of what we watch Friday nights, Saturday, Sundays for the rest of the year here, and kind of can see the evolution of what pit stops become as we get used to the next gen car and all that good stuff. So, all right, let's talk a little racing. Trucks Friday night. Racing this weekend was what we expect, right? Like, I got to get over the fact that, hey, we're just going to have some crashes. It's Daytona, and just know it's the kickoff to the season and be happy about that. The truck race, though, Friday night, very exciting. Zane Smith picking up the win. Ben Rhodes almost going back-to-back for Daytona truck wins. Parker Kligerman was up there. You know he's a big friend of the show. Matt DiBenedetto, top 10 at Daytona, which was awesome. He was up there as well. Very curious to see what he does this year, as we all are. Haley Deegan with a top 20 finish. So some people were able to go out there, take advantage of the racing that Daytona provides. And I think it was a great start. We'll just have to see what happens. John Hunter favored not too well there. As if you picked him in Lap Traffic Fantasy, you found that out. But I'm just bummed the trucks are off for Fontana Auto Club. Man, what do we call it these days? And we'll just have to pick them back up in Vegas. But I was very, very excited about the Xfinity Series. We had a great season last year. I can't wait to get Dustin Albino from jski.com back on and talk racing, especially the Xfinity Series. That's his baby. He loves talking Xfinity, and we had such an incredible year last year in the Xfinity Series. I actually think last year's Xfinity Series was a little bit better than the Truck Series, and I wouldn't have expected myself to say that, but it's true. We had great racing last year, and I think we're going to have the same thing this year. You're going to have a fight for some things. Austin Hill going out there, picking up the win. He's obviously going to have a great year. AJ Allmendinger, Noah Gregson, Justin Allgaier, Brandon Brown, Ty Gibbs. Landon Castle now running for Colleague is in some equipment that he should be able to go out there. We're going to have some competition out there in the Xfinity Series this year, and I'm really looking forward to the racing product that the Xfinity Series is going to give us. And then, the big dance, the Cup race on Sunday, the 500. And just what an incredible race in terms of the drama, the storylines to come out of it. Bubba Wallace with his second place Daytona finish, almost got one. Is he going to get one? Hey, he's finished second twice now. Very realistic that he could get one. Michael McDowell, last year's winner, backed that up with a top 10 this year. I think that's a statement. I think the elephant in the room, though, if we're talking about Sunday, is Brad Keselowski. And, he goes out, picks up the dual win, which was awesome. Hey, we're talking about Roush again, right? Which is great. I've gone on rants for the last few years talking about how I wish we were talking about Roush. I wish we were talking more about Richard Childress. I keep talking about how Tyler Reddick is going to be the one to get that breakthrough win for that organization, as well as, I know Austin Dillon's won, but, I think once Tyler gets that win, that's going to be a huge leap forward for that organization. Richard Petty needs to get back out there, so I keep talking about all these guys and these organizations that I wish we were talking about more. Brad Keselowski is going to help do that for Roush, and to go out there and get that dual win. I think Brad, my thought is behind it, Brad wanted to go out there, get people talking about him, the organization, maybe go out there and get a win because, they're going to have to get things dialed in. Are they going to be out there competing for wins at your intermediates? I don't know. They might. I think the initial reaction to that question for me would be no. So, hey, if we're going to get a win, it's going to have to be at Daytonas, the Talladegas, maybe a road course. So he went out there. And I put it out on Twitter that he was running a NASCAR heat race on PS4 with, cautions turned off. Didn't make friends. Not that Brad's worried about making friends on the racetrack. And I totally get behind that. You got to go out there. You got to run your race and do you, which I get. But I was a little surprised to see how aggressive, how early the 6 was. And, we'll just have to see I'm curious to see how he races, this week, and going forward, and to see what they're able to do. I hope like hell that organization is able to put something together, and I think they will. I think Brad will be able to help them from a sponsorship perspective, from a knowledge perspective, and I think it's going to be fun to watch the rebrand of RFK and see what happens. So there we go. Can't wait for this weekend. We got to get a clear picture of what pit stops are going to look like. Brian talked about that a little bit ago. But we really don't know what the car is, right? Because it's Daytona, and now this week we're really going to see what that car's like. How does it run? How does it handle in traffic? Can you pass? Can you not? And I'm very excited for this weekend now that Daytona's not out of the way. But hey, week 1, race 1 done. All right, let's get down to business. And now that the pomp and circumstance of the season kickoff is over, and let's see what happens. So, all right, there's that. What do you say we do a little social media, and we'll get Brian on, and then we'll get Corey on and talk a little ARCA racing from this weekend. So that's the next few things here. So let's do a little Lap Traffic social media. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. If you've made it this far into the show, please go leave a review, tell your friends, all that good stuff. Picked up a ton of followers on Sunday, which was awesome during the race. Hopefully we're not too far away. Well, we're only about 250 followers away from hitting 6,000 and giving away the Kevin Harvick sheet metal and Chase Elliott race win 124 from Phoenix in 2020. Can't wait to give that away. Thank you to all of the retweets. I think we're close. We'll get it soon. And I pre-ordered, and I got it already, a bunch of Lap Traffic swag and stuff to give away throughout the season. So we'll do some fun giveaways, all that good stuff. But speaking of new followers, Chad McDaniel at Chad Illich Ranch 3. NASCAR and wrestling fan, hell yeah. What'd you think of Elimination Chamber this past weekend? Ken at Ken Fratt 1783, NASCAR fan from Ohio. Ali Borat at Ali Borat, NASCAR fan and a photographer, which is pretty cool. Brian Cooper at Brian Cooper 79, a Chase Briscoe fan from Missouri. Jordan Hamano at JT Hamano, NASCAR fan and a HMS fan. Chuck Lally at JG2448JJ, NASCAR fan from California. And I was pretty excited when I saw this. Seriously Fast Media at Seriously_Fast. Another NASCAR content provider from my home state and the Motor City. So that's cool. Welcome, guys, and can't wait to check out some of the stuff you guys put out. And don't forget, get your free Lap Traffic Podcast koozies and stickers. All you have to do is fill out the contact page on the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. I will send those out for free. And, of course, if you want your Lap Traffic swag, if you don't win a shirt or a hoodie, there's all that good stuff, different color options. I'm telling you, you get a Lap Traffic hoodie, it's like I'm giving you a hug. That's how warm and soft these hoodies are. There's some cool things out there with old school logos, new logos, as well as some cool fonts and all that good stuff out on the store at the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. All right. Enough shameless plugs. Let's keep going. Let's get Mr. Brian Neudorff on, talk a little college basketball, as well as the early outlook and forecast for this weekend at Fontana. All right, Lap Traffic Nation joining me on the line. You can follow him on Twitter at NASCAR_WXMAN, along with Aaron Studwell at Race Weather. It is Mr. Brian Neudorff. Sir, good evening. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, I was not happy with y'all when you dropped like 22 points on the Boilermakers there in Ann Arbor. But then, your coach decides, you know what? I'm thinking I'm going to go whack-a-mole on Wisconsin. So whack-a-badger. So
that's awesome. I love it. Yeah. No, man.
And I literally just came up with that.
I love that.
It seemed.
No, what a crazy situation. Sitting down here watching the race with the new baby and had the Michigan
already exposing it to violence.
I know.
Obviously Howard is from the Fab Five. Obviously, he's going to have problems with timeouts.
Dude, you're on a roll today. I love it.
This is all from the internet. I can't take.
I can't take credit. It's all right. It's good. That was just nuts. Especially in college basketball, you want to try to, instill respect upon these young men and young athletes. And, when your coach can't keep his cool, that doesn't help the situation. Don't get in line. You want to make a statement, don't get in line, and whatever little medicine they would have given him for that probably would have been a lot more palatable than what's going to come down the pipe here over the next day or so.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of argument. It's a growing support for Howard. I mean, in some ways, I get that. I've watched the replay a lot of times because I like college basketball, and I'm always about giving people the benefit of the doubt. Really, I am. Because, there's always in my world when I was in television and I was, I always like to say that there's three sides to every story. There's the one side, the other side, and somewhere in between is the truth.
Yeah.
And then the video evidence, and you're watching that and you're just like, yes, the Wisconsin coach guard, as they're walking, because Howard is walking through the line towards the center of the court.
Yep.
Like everybody else. And, he's trying to ignore guard. And guard is kind of gets that sense. And so he he does that. He was doing that with a lot of, he just kind of hits his arm. Now so for everybody who says guard made contact on Howard first, you're right in that aspect, but it wasn't like touching him in a way that was aggressive or trying to like grab somebody by the, collar. I don't know. Howard may have done that and then stuck a finger in the person's face. So by that point, I'm thinking, if you're upset that guard grabbed you, you already showed that by the grabbing of the scruff, up there in the front, and then pulling him towards you and then smacking him with your finger by saying, I will remember that, whatever that was said. And then he leaves. Then he gets pulled away, and then, everybody's getting broken in, trying to pull the coaches away. And then all of a sudden he comes back in. Now, obviously, words are being said. Who knows what's said? But but everybody's argument that, well, guard grabbed him first, and that's why he punched, that would make sense if he punched guard.
Yep.
He didn't. He hits another assistant coach or statistician or whatever the guy was on Wisconsin. Yeah, and then that's when these players start, throwing haymakers and punches. And I mean, there should be discipline on both sides. Now, I mean, should he be fired? No, probably not. Obviously, it's not his first offense. You're a Michigan guy, so it'll be interesting to see how you weigh in on this. Now, if he got fired, I could see the argument for it. But I personally think he's done the rest of the season.
I agree.
Now, if Michigan somehow makes it to the tournament, he could come back then. But personally, I think you should suspend him for the rest of the regular season and through the Big Ten tournament. If I'm the Big Ten,
I think that's beyond fair. I mean, I try to take an objective approach on a lot of things, and this is one of them. And for me, it's like, I'm about the team. I want better recruiting. I want a better product on the court, and this doesn't help that situation. I don't want to subscribe to the theory that he did it on purpose because he wanted a way out, and hey, what better way? Not to mention Beeline's been sitting on the bench the last couple games. Maybe Beeline wants to come back, which, hey, I loved Coach Beeline. A
lot of people did. Yeah, he was a great coach.
So I wonder if there's any thought, any truth behind that, regardless of that.
I hadn't heard those theories. I didn't even know Beeline was still on, was courtside or bench.
Yeah,
but then, so you're basically saying that maybe Howard was feeling some pressure with Beeline there. And so he was like, well, maybe my job's in danger and stuff like that.
I wonder, and for me, I just, I'm all about respect from a whether you're a celebrity, whether it's an athlete, whatever the case is, and for me, it's, you're the coach of college basketball. Pros, I'd probably have a lot more leeway for this situation. But when you're the person that these young guys are supposed to be looking up to and how to shape their lives, how to live their lives on and off the court, that doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth in that situation, and even if they suspended him can't draw on a blank here, not the Big Ten, the NCAA tournament. Sorry, man. I'd be okay with that. I really would. Mainly maybe because I'm saying that because I don't think they're going to go that far anyways, so it's not that bad. But I think something should definitely happen as far as a heavy fine and suspension of games. Do I think firing is a little extreme? Yes. But if they didn't, I guess I would say I wouldn't be surprised. So we'll.
I hear that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I am a little surprised. Okay, so people know we're recording this Monday evening. What it probably happened about right before the start of the race, which was about 2:30. It's so we're about we're over 24 hours from when that went down.
Yep.
So at this point, you're like, it's a little surprising. I thought it would be swift. I really did. I personally thought this was going to be kind of like, okay, they were going to come down and it was going to be fairly swift. The fact that it hasn't, I actually think bodes well for Howard, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of theories and I don't really want to go. This is a NASCAR podcast, so I'm not going to get into those. But we do like to talk Big Ten. And, we stopped, everybody laughed when Rutgers beat the big bad number 1 team. And then they just lined all of the other ranked teams up and went shooting.
Well, yeah. All right, NASCAR, man.
We're back, and I didn't have to do anything.
That's right. What'd you think of the 500, and what'd you think of the single lug tire changes and all that good stuff?
I will be honest. I had to run to Costco during the first part, and I thought I'll have time to watch the race. And I got back, and the Purdue game came on. And so I was watching a little bit. Obviously, the one thing I do know is that there were a lot of tires coming off.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I'm starting to understand when I read the statement after the win from Penske regarding why they were doing it. Looked like NASCAR was not answering questions regarding, that not all holes were created equal.
Right. Yeah.
And so, listen, I've heard this single lug nut thing because a lot of the other series have that. Plus, when you talk about all the gun issues we had earlier, when the people, they were trying to make things all fair, so NASCAR provided guns, and then the guns were jamming, and then, lug nuts are, not getting tight all the way and stuff like that. In some ways, I get it. To me, it's not a bad idea, but something needs to be done too. Having tires coming off and stuff like that's not safe for anybody. And then, as some people pointed out too, what if some of the wrecks that we've had, what if one of these tires come off?
Yeah.
And then, we've seen what happens when a tire goes off and then goes into the stands. So now you start putting fans in jeopardy too, potentially. All of these things combined. So I'm going to wait till I see, obviously. I always feel like super speedways, not exactly the best test for a lot of these things.
Yes. I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's like, let's see how well your car drives every day. But first, we're going to do it in an ice storm.
Right. That's a good analogy. I like that.
Now, it's the best I could come with on a short fly. But in conditions that aren't normal.
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
Intermediate tracks where we mostly do things now, we can kind of see wheels, or maybe even on a road course where you're going to have to have more with turning and stuff like that. So it might be a little more interesting, but obviously pit stops and stuff and all those things are crucial. Apparently, I mean, I did a real quick unofficial scientific poll on Twitter by saying, hey, the weather was nice. What you thought?
Right.
Most people liked it.
Yeah.
Most people liked it.
What do you know? We got through all 4 races on race weekend at Daytona scot-free. I mean, that's a good sign.
It's a good start. That could just mean the rest of the season just completely sucks weather-wise.
Well, speaking of that, you mentioned we are doing a little early this week, but what's the early outlook for this weekend at Auto Club?
That's all you want to talk about? The 500? That's it? I mean, I didn't watch it.
Oh, well, all right. Let's.
And obviously, once again, a first-time winner. You know.
Yes. Well, all right. What do you think about Keselowski just bulldozing his way through anybody?
Well, I mean.
I'm like,
isn't that what? Okay, listen. If he had a number 3 and he was still, the intimidator, would we be having this conversation, or is it because we just don't like Keselowski?
Well, so that's the thing. Like, I'm not a Keselowski fan. I just was like, damn, dude.
I like Keselowski.
I do too. I think he's done great things for the sport. I think he's going to be the shot in the arm that Roush needs, and I think they're. If I'm, and I've said this before, if I'm Richard Childress, if I'm Richard Petty, maybe I look at the contract and the way things were done, maybe they need something like that. Maybe that would work for them, bringing in a big name, giving ownership in lieu of a high paying contract kind of thing. As a way to go about it. And
look at Jeff Gordon. I mean, look at Gordon now.
Yeah. So I think Keselowski went out there wanting to make a name for himself with the new team, wanting to get them talking about the organization, and knowing that, hey, these races might be their chance to get a win in the win column this year, get Roush back to victory lane. And, he went out there to go and do that. And so for that, I 100% understand. Was it a little, I've seen more reckless driving at plate racing, so, it wasn't the worst, but I was surprised to see how aggressive, how early at the 500 he was.
I mean, again, I guess it just depends. I mean, if it was, if it was a Busch brother, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there known for aggressive driving.
Sure. Well, and then to me, I was talking with a couple buddies. I made the joke. I'm like, well, maybe, Ryan Newman took a lot of crap for how he drove in the 6, and here's Keselowski's first race in the 6 doing the same. Maybe it's the number, not the driver. I don't know. So, but
and then speaking of numbers, everybody's losing their crap because I don't know, the numbers off center.
Oh, yeah. That'll just it'll grow on us like everything else has.
Here's an idea. Here's how you want to really mess with people. Roman numerals. All right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Nope. I'll take my off center.
Okay. There you go. Off center. And then I saw the funny that there's like, just be happy they have numbers on there. Maybe they need to start making the numbers out of like sponsorship logos.
Oh man.
Maybe Motel 6 can, do Keselowski.
I mean, that would fit. That would definitely
see what I'm doing there. I know.
I do. All right. How about
you want weather?
Now?
The only reason I'm stalling is because as of right now, it is California, despite the fact that the week's going to start off stormy on the West Coast, which then it will translate into me getting a lot of rain. And it looks like, you're not done with winter yet either.
No, nope.
So, that's all part of the same connection anyway. So once that moves through early in the week, it actually looks, I went and looked at some stuff, but it actually looks, the way too early forecast is, I would say it's pretty good for Auto Club. I think overall we're looking pretty good with our forecast there.
Excellent. Good deal. That's exciting. Well, man, great to have you back solo, and we'll get back on our rotation here, and looking forward to another year. We missed last week, as I kind of figured we were going to with
seriously, seriously, you growing to your family. By the way, for those of you who didn't hear because it was off air, but I feel like I would be remiss if I did not share my diaper changing philosophy with you.
Perfect way to I love it.
I definitely think so. So for those of you, I have 3 boys. You have a son now, but I have 3 boys now. They've way past that that point in their life. But I always treated, and I figured I would speak your language. Yes. I always treated this as, a NASCAR pit stop. Speed and efficiency is of the most, especially when you're dealing with boys.
Yes.
Okay. I can honestly say I've never been peed on. Okay. Now, downside is you don't have the one guy taking the tire off and another one putting it on. Okay.
Right.
So you're all by yourself. So what you got to do is you got to bring that first one down. And, as soon as you're taking that other one off, you put the other one down. It's a guard, okay? And then you're fast. I mean, now that once that's covered, you're good. It doesn't matter, but it's a speed issue.
Yes.
So you don't get peed on.
Yeah, we're going to start timing. I'm going to have Lindsay time me and see how quickly I can improve my diaper changing times.
I mean, and you can pretend you have multiple lug nuts where you go, woo, woo, woo. You can make the sound of the gun instead of one,
I love it. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. Make sure you follow Brian on Twitter at NASCAR_WXMAN, along with Aaron Studwell at Race Weather. Sir, great to talk with you, and we'll catch you in a couple weeks.
Okay, in a couple of weeks, and hopefully you'll get us both on again for another big race.
Absolutely.
Maybe more than
last year when I dropped the ball drastically on that. Yes. All right, man. We'll catch you soon.
And if you do have any timeouts during the show, make sure Juwan Howard approves them. So we don't want to have any more incidents.
I love it. All right, man. We'll catch you later.
Sounds good.
We'll see ya. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, great to hear from Brian, and we'll get Mr. Aaron Studwell on next week. And coming up here right after the Lucky Dog segment is Corey Heim, your ARCA winner from this past weekend at Daytona. We'll get him on and talk some ARCA racing. But first, it's your Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks. You guys know the drill. Send your picks in after the race weekend is over, and I'll read them back, tag on social media. And then at the end of the year, we do a recap show, which has become a staple of the Lap Traffic Podcast. All right, here we go. Scott at 1985 Wagner, Lucky Dog, Austin Cindric, Unflippin' Believable, a lap down, guessing half of the Lap Traffic Fantasy League players, including myself. Such a strong showing in 45th, am I right now? Yes. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a little bit. Carson Hagelin at Carson Hagelin, Lucky Dog to the winners in all three series, winning their new rides. Lap down ARCA with another boring super speedway race. Carson, I think once we get a little bit more intertwined with the ARCA series, ARCA East, ARCA West, I think we're going to start to see a lot better racing from the ARCA series. Talked to Charles Kroll numerous times about that, and that is their goal, is to improve the on-track competition in the ARCA series. And I love that guy, and I have all the faith in the world that they're going to get that done here very soon. Colin at Colin _with_cars. Given the Lucky Dog to Cindric, I love rookie winners. A lap down to the nose of the 6-car dude, spun everyone out there. Looked like Tom Cruise from Days of Thunder. I love that. That's fantastic. All right. John at racing _64. Lucky Dog is Austin Cindric, first-time winner. Lap down. Fox refusing to show intervals on ticker when your driver is fighting for a Lucky Dog. That is crucial information. I didn't realize that, but yeah, I agree with you there. Jason at JStone29. Larson forgetting how to draft is my lap down. Austin is Lucky Dog for being in the right place at the right time, and now he is a rookie Daytona 500 winner. Congratulations, kid. Jess at Iowa NASCAR fan, Lucky Dog, Cindric, what a race from the rookie. Going to be a big year with all the road courses, too. You got that right, man. Absolutely. Lap down, Keselowski was in win at all cost mode, and it didn't work out, and his old car won. What a slap in the face. Yeah, I hear you there. Kristen at KHoglin79. Lucky Dog is Cindric, of course. Lap down Bubba for being so close and missing out on a win. Lisa at LL Chanana. Lucky Dog, you and Lindsay on the birth of your son Alden this past week. I love that. Thank you so much. Lap down anyone who was in front of Keselowski. Second Lucky Dog is Cindric with the win in his first race as a rookie in Cup. Matt at Camper News Net. Lucky Dog, Austin Cindric. First race as a full-time Cup Series driver and winning the 500 is something that will be remembered for a long time. This for sure I wasn't expecting. This will be a really exciting season to watch. A lap down, Bubba Wallace, so close but too far. Matt at CH9SE fan. Lucky Dog, Easy Snyder. Lap down, Hendrick. They had nothing, even with 2 wrecks. They have nothing. Wow. And I have 2 more special Lucky Dogs. all the way where the fans, that place was effing packed, and it looked like it on TV. And 2 speed weeks in general, 3 great races. Drivers seem more aggressive than ever. 2022 going to be special. I love it, Matt. I love it. Mike at Odell_Michael, Lucky Dog, Austin Cindric for the first Daytona 500 win for the 2 car for Mr. Penske. Lap down, Harrison Burton. Welcome to Cup, young man. Rowdy at the Rowdy Dragon, Lucky Dog, the 2 car of Austin Cindric, gets a Daytona trophy as a rookie. Lap down, Harrison Burton got to look at the track from the top down. Ooh, yes, sir. Scott, it's Scotty D, 2448. Lucky Dog, the NextGen car getting tested over and over in accidents and passing with flying colors. 100%. Lap down, Keselowski running wreckers, right checkers, and biting him. Tristan at Tristan Cole, Lucky Dog, Austin Cindric on winning the 500. Penske getting a Daytona 500 win on his birthday. Lap down, Keselowski on pushing it too hard at times and causing a few accidents. And last but not least, White and Nerdy at Terry C_Ford, Lucky Dog, Austin Cindric. Lap down, hate to say it, but Brad and pushing and the commercial coverage by Fox. There you have it. That's your Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks this week. All right. Normally, we'd be closing this thing out with a little lap traffic fantasy, which we will get to in just a little bit. But right now, let's get your Daytona winner from the ARCA Menard series, Corey Heim, on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his first appearance on the show. He is the driver, the number 20 with Venerini Motorsports, and the winner of the Lucas Oil 200 this past Saturday at Daytona. It's Corey Heim. Corey, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not too much. I'm good. Just hanging out at Venerini Motorsports right now. How are you?
Oh, hey, man, it's podcast night. I'm doing good. Excited that week 1 is in the books from Daytona. Man, back to back. How cool is that for you?
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, to even win one race at Daytona, even to be a part of that race at Daytona is pretty surreal for me. I remember last year it was just such a childhood dream for me to compete in that race, and then to win that race is just amazing, and to come back and do it again, and the fashion that we did it was pretty surreal. So just awesome to be part of that event in general.
Absolutely. Venerini had a game plan coming out there, and you guys were able to stick to it for quite a while. Talk about the team aspect going into this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the super speedways, especially in Daytona, I mean, that's everything. Team organization and just kind of a meeting beforehand is really, really important to kind of execute. And, we kind of had an idea of what the plan would be. But after we got our qualifying group, which was really, really good, of 6 cars that we knew would qualify up front, we knew we had a really, really good shot at, starting up front and just kind of controlling the race from the very beginning. So that's exactly what we did.
That's great, man. Well, listen, I love getting ARCA guys on here, and I want to talk about your truck series run with Kyle Busch as well here in a little bit. But for those that maybe aren't too familiar with you, tell everyone a little bit about your background, racing, getting started, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I started out when I was 5 years old. When I was 4 years old, my dad bought me a quarter midget for Christmas, and we started when I was old enough to race, which was 5. And I did that for, I want to say, almost 10 years until we got into Bandoleros and Legends cars around Atlanta Motor Speedway, and we kind of raced all around the Southeast. Went down to Florida, North Carolina at some point, and then I got into pro late models and super late models around the Southeast, and we traveled a little bit with those as well. And then I made the transition to ARCA and trucks.
That's great, man. So 6 wins last year, finished second in points. What are the ARCA plans the rest of the year?
Yeah, as of now, I have 6 races more after Daytona planned. So our next race is at Talladega. I'm pretty much just doing the big tracks this year. Jesse Love is going to be the other car competing for owner's points within the 20 car this year. So I'm basically doing every race that he's not old enough to do, which is pretty exciting for me just because I feel like is a strong suit for me is those bigger racetracks. So that's really that's a great opportunity for me to get warmed up for my truck races as well.
Awesome. Talk a little bit about what makes, in your eyes, Venerini Motorsports so successful in the ARCA series, and what made it click for you personally with them.
Yeah, I mean, you can just walk around the shop and tell that these guys are really driven. And, Shannon Rush has been my crew chief for the last year and a half, 2 years now. And he's always just been lights out at the racetrack, lights out at the shop, really, really driven and really determined to succeed. And there's, 4 or 5 other people that are capable of crew chiefing or do crew chief that are also, driven enough to make a successful ARCA team. So you get those 4 or 5 guys together and then, along with everyone else that does really good work at the Fontana Motorsports shop, and you get a really good, successful race team. So they've always really had guys walking around the shop that really know how to succeed and know how to make fast race cars. And, this year's no exception.
You've been with them for a couple years now, whether full-time, part-time with them. Venturini, obviously known as a great developmental group for up-and-coming drivers. Was it hard this weekend at Daytona, working, with your teammates, a younger field with just the type of racing that Daytona typically brings?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little concerned with, just my teammates having no experience coming into that race. But I was in the same seat, a year ago before I raced Daytona. I had no super speedway experience in my life. So I kind of just told them everything that I knew going into that race and what helped me win last year's race. And I think that really paid off, just to kind of sit down and talk to him. And, everyone within Toyota Racing and TRD is really close. So they had a lot of connections there to just kind of go within that group of people and talk to them and get all the information they needed. So, I tried to load up Tony and Parker with a lot of information on how to really just help out your teammates and be there at the end. And, if you help your teammates, it's going to help you in return. So, Gus already had a lot of prior experience, so he didn't need, much of that. And he did a phenomenal job as well. So, really grateful for some smart teammates.
Sure. No, for sure. You kind of being the veteran there now, who were you looking up to and talking to a couple of years ago when, like you said, you were making your first run there?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, the whole Toyota group is super close, so it's really just anyone within that that has experience. You got guys that are in the Cup Series that stop by TPC, the Toyota Performance Center, every once in a while, and I just kind of pick their brain a little bit about super speedways, and that was kind of the biggest unknown for me last year. That and road courses, and we had some success on that as well. So I think it's really important just to kind of really talk to anyone you can that has prior experience, whether they're successful or not. They're going to have some sort of information that has helped them over the past. So that's been really important for me.
Sure. Talk about your day specifically, at the track in terms of, your prep, getting ready for it, and how the race went from your vantage point.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just preparing for anything that could possibly happen leading up to the race. Like I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, your qualifying group is very dependent on your starting position, and sometimes you don't have a whole lot of control over that. So you kind of got to be ready to start last. You kind of got to be ready to start middle of the pack or front of the pack. Excuse me. And you just got to prepare for all those scenarios that might come up. And me just kind of watching a lot of film, and even just like last year, talking within my Toyota group on how to kind of navigate through that was super important, kind of leading up to the race. And if you expect anything, you won't be caught off guard, and I think that really helps me through really any racetrack.
Sure. Last year you led 38 laps. This year you led damn near the whole thing. As you're out there leading and you're seeing the race kind of unfold in the rear view, were you getting nervous at all? Like, are we going to get a late restart? What was going through your mind as the laps were ticking down towards the end there?
Yeah, I think we had such a fast race car that the light caution really never fazed me. I never thought that we were going to, be in too much trouble. But, it is Daytona, it is ARCA. You kind of got to be ready for anything. And I feel like, since last year we had the exact same scenario play out where we were leading the last 35-ish laps, and then the caution came out with 3 to go, and we had that green and white last lap restart caution. So, I was kind of prepared for something like that to happen again, because cautions are pretty common in ARCA as far as just super speedway stuff. You got inexperienced guys, and some cars kind of fall apart on you. So I wasn't too frustrated when that happened, especially because the outside lane was starting to form up behind me, and I kind of needed a break there. So it all worked out in my favor, and that's really good.
Awesome, man. All right, let's talk about the truck series for a couple minutes here. Talk about what it was like to get a call from Kyle Busch. You ran I think 3 races last year in the 51. You got 15 coming up this year. Talk about what that whole process was like for you.
Yeah, last year I knew that I was going to get at least 2 starts, and I ended up getting 3 by the time it was all said and done. But yeah, I mean, I kind of got warmed up to this team that I'm with this year. I was with Marty Lindley in the 51 crew last year, and they also came back for the 2022 season, and that kind of helped me just really get the rhythm of everything. And I did a lot of sim work with them on a weekly basis. Even when Kyle ran, I did a lot of sim as well. So just to kind of get warmed up to those guys and really get to know them week in and week out has really kind of set me up for hopeful success this year. I think I've really done a lot to set myself up for success. So we'll see if that all pays off.
Awesome. Talk about the transition. Was it a challenge this past weekend? To hop from one seat to the other?
Yeah, I mean, at Daytona, not necessarily. I think, like I kind of touched on earlier, as long as I did my research on both ends of that, nothing really kind of fazed me in that aspect. But I did have that incident on pit road, which kind of took me out of the race, which is a little bit different than just studying the racetrack. It's kind of just a wrong place, wrong time kind of situation. But, funny you mentioned that, because last year I ran Watkins Glen in the truck and ARCA car, and we went out there in the ARCA car and won the race, and I think led the most laps in that one too. And I went out there in the truck the next day and just struggled really, really bad. So, sometimes it's tough to kind of just bounce back and forth. I don't think Daytona falls into that category, but there's certainly tracks just like Watkins Glen that's definitely tough to bounce back and forth between.
Sure. What do you know the next couple truck races that you're going to be in?
Yeah, I believe the next one's Atlanta here in about a month. And then after that, I want to say Darlington, I think.
Awesome. We think of Atlanta, we think of the old school, the track and how awesome of a race the trucks have been in Atlanta. What do you think it's going to be like with the repave there now?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. It's a really big unknown for everybody. It sounds like they're going to bring the high drag and low power package with the trucks there, and it's going to be pretty much wide open. So don't be surprised if it races a lot like Daytona. Honestly, it's a different shape, and it's got that D-shaped oval on the front stretch. So that'll mix it up a little bit. It's going to be really tough to hold the yellow line if that's what we're going to have to do. And it'll be interesting. I really have no idea how it's going to race. I hope it's a good race for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit of a slugfest.
Awesome. Do you know if you're running Martinsville in the trucks? Because that's always everybody's like, I got to go get me a grandfather clock. So are we going to go out and get one?
I don't believe so this year. I think Kyle's going to try to get his weekend sweep this year, but it's not 100% positive at the moment, but I'll be able to know within a couple weeks here.
That's awesome. Well, man, give some shout outs to sponsors, all that good stuff, and tell everyone where they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. This past weekend was Crescent Tools' first race on a NASCAR stock car, so that was really special for them. Toyota Racing, of course, for everything they do. Champion Power Equipment, and then you got JBL on my truck on that Tundra TRD Pro. Wish we had a better run on that, but really grateful for my support there. And then on Instagram, you can follow me at Corey.Heim. Twitter is CoreyHeim_, and Facebook is just Corey Heim Racing.
Awesome, man. Lap Traffic Nation, huge thanks to Corey for calling in. Corey, best of luck the rest of the season, and look forward to catching up with you soon and seeing how the season goes.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on today.
Awesome, man. Take care. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, that was Corey Heim. That was awesome. Great to talk to him. All right. Let's wrap this thing up with a little Lap Traffic fantasy. Just a reminder, get your picks in by 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. And I don't know why it took me so long to come up with this idea, but it's there. It might take a little getting used to, but I created a live sheet that you can make your picks on. You don't even have to save it. All you gotta do is type it. It auto saves. Check out the link. Check out the emails. I get the email reminders out this week. Keep the Twitter interaction up on Twitter using hashtag LTFantasy. And I couldn't get a hold of the weekly high winner this week, but nonetheless, my picks of Enfinger, Snyder, and McDowell were good for a whopping 58 points and a 45th place showing in the standings. Great job. Our week high, though, Don James with his picks of Blaney, Dinger, and Rhodes, good for 128 points, and he's sitting there in first place. In second place with 118 is Kyle Garrett. In third, Michael Mason with 117. In fourth, Kristen Hogland with 115. In fifth with 109, Jeremy Waterbury. We got a three-way tie for sixth with 106 points with Jeff Clark, Justin Hughes, and Kent Dolphy. Two-way tie for 7th with 103 between Henry Fletcher and Tom Marcina. We got a two-way tie for 8th with 101 between Kim James and Michael Roller. Three-way tie for 9th with 100 points even with Alan Cavana, John Warrington, and Tony Salt. And wrapping out the top 10 with 99 points is Dean Rower. And some bonus points. We had, Don got a bonus point for his week high. And then we had some people that picked Cindric. We had some people that picked Austin Hill. And we had, I think, one guy that picked our truck winner. So Aaron Studwell, Benton Wilson, Jumpy Bob, Don James, Kyle Garrett, Michael from the Blind Spot podcast, and Stephen Florence all picking up some bonus points, which will carry over if you make the playoffs. So there's that. We'll hopefully be able to get a guest picker on next week. But right now, it is time for the picks. Lap Traffic Fantasy players, we kick off the West Coast swing. We are headed back to Auto Club for the first time since March of 2020, where Alex Bowman picked up the win. How useful are trends going to be this year with the new car, new tires? We'll find out. But looking at some past trends, Chevy and Toyota have favored well at Auto Club and around the big intermediate tracks, as we all know. Ford only has 2 wins in the last 14 trips to Auto Club. There are plenty of Fords looking to rebound after Daytona, though. Will HMS resume their dominance? Will a new team step up to the plate? Last year we had a good streak for new race winners each week. Will that continue, or will our Daytona 500 winner go back-to-back? We'll find out this weekend, but it's time for my picks. Let's see how bad I can screw it up this weekend. For the Xfinity Series, I am going with the 7 of Justin Allgaier. And for the Cup Series, I am going with the 22 of Joey Logano. I think a Ford's going to get it done. We will find out. But, all right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 270 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out their website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. Still got the giveaway, about 250 followers away. Keep the retweets and all that good stuff going. Huge thank you to Corey Heim, Brian Haaland, and Brian Neudorff. We'll see what we can put together for next week's show. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!